and welcome to episode 1 of series 2 of Running Loose.
Which is highly exciting.
I actually love Epsom. I know there are a lot of people that wouldn't have it at the top of their
Epsom swing, I must say. And I'm half a gin and tonic in now, so the truth's coming out.
My name is Francesca
And I'm Vanessa Ryle.
And we are really excited to announce that we have a brand new sponsor for the Running Loose podcast, and it is none other than Edinburgh Gin. I mean, could there be a more fitting sponsor for our podcast?
Absolutely not. And on the note that we kind of want to keep it as genuine, this podcast, to our own personalities as possible, we try and be very truthful on the pod and, you know, kind of row our own boat a little bit. It was only right that we found a sponsor that really fitted our brands, and on the basis that I only drink gin and tonic and champagne. But I don't drink wine. I'm not a wine drinker or a beer drinker. So I only drink gin and tonic, and anybody who knows me out there will know how much I love a gin and tonic. So when it sort of first got broached to me that we might have Edinburgh Gin on board, I was just like, oh my God, this is absolutely perfect.
Well, we are very excited to start this partnership. And to mark the beginning of the relationship, we have come to Edinburgh. For those of you watching, you'll be able to see that we are sat in one of the tasting rooms here at Edinburgh Gin in the heart of Edinburgh with our gin and tonics, being treated to the full experience. And it's a brilliant way to kick off the new series.
Well, absolutely, on the basis that it's only just gone 12 o'clock and we're allowed to drink. I wouldn't normally, if I was working, I wouldn't be drinking, let's be honest. But also, if I was to have a drink on a working day, it definitely wouldn't be at just gone 12 o'clock. But now that they're our sponsor, I just only feel like it's apt to sip away on this gin and tonic.
Can you hear the ice clinking?
So, no, it's perfect, it's great. And we're back with series 2 as well, which, you know, and we started out in series 1, all joking aside, we were unsure about where this pod was going to go or take us. We've mentioned it a few times, we won't bang on, but basically it's been a raging success.
Indeed.
And we're back with series 2, which is highly exciting.
What
have you been doing since I last
God, what have I been doing? When was the last one? Before the Guineas, wasn't it? So
just
we've had a lot
from
the racing perspective, and it obviously has been a really busy time for me because with ITV in May we go literally from the Guineas at Newmarket to Chester, then you've got the Lingfield trials on the back of that. Then it's York after that, and then Newbury for the Lockinge. And so it has been go on a work front. So for me personally, I've been fairly boring, head down, working, traveling a lot. How about you?
Less boring, probably. I think less boring.
As always the way, can I just point out?
I went to Cornwall on holiday. I had a great time in Cornwall with some friends, but that was off the back of the other holiday I had.
Oh, goodness me.
I know, so just been leaning into them a little bit. Cornwall was great. And then, just kind of like been back in work action, I guess. You know how it is. Like, I had some days from Sky the other day where I hadn't done a Sky shift in, I think, like 2 weeks because of the holiday and then the way the schedule was. And do the other stuff, all the other podcasts and traveling around freelance work. I've done a Sky shift in 2 weeks, and then I think I was at 4 different racetracks in 7 different days. So it is like London buses. But so it's been great. But like you say, in the racing sense, it's been flat out basically with Derby trials, because this is really our Derby show, isn't it? Because this will go out just before the Derby.
Indeed. So we are recording on what day is it?
Well, we've done this before on this show and got this wildly wrong, so I'm not going to take a stab at the date. You mean like sort of 10 days off?
Thursday.
It's Thursday. Basically, we're 10 days out. We're 10 days out from the Derby.
Yes, because it's on
Don't
the
look at me
Saturday.
blankly
No,
like
I'm thinking
that.
it's a week until I go to Epsom, but
Yeah.
So more like 9.
So, and all the racing activity has been based basically Derby focused, really.
It has, because obviously we talk about the trials, so it's a real trials period, and actually the Guineas is considered not only a brilliant race in itself, but often a good indicator to the Derby. And we've got the winner of the Guineas ruling court, who they've said from the minute he crossed the line that he was going to head towards the Derby. Then obviously you go to Chester. Aidan O'Brien won all the trials there for the Derby and the Oaks.
Should we just touch upon that? Let's dive straight in.
Because then we went to Lingfield and he won the trials there. And then we went to York and he won the Oaks trial, but not the Dante.
Yeah, but I mean, the domination of the trials by Aidan started to get a little bit tedious by Lingfield.
It's not a new thing.
This is the Irish trial as well, with Delacroix winning. So throw that in. I know it's not new, but it was a little bit tedious at one stage. I was glad that Rafe Beckett's horse at least won the Dante, which we will get to in a minute. But I don't know, I was starting to feel like it's just that usual domination.
I think it's not surprising because it's a trend that's been emerging over the last few years. And I think whilst he has a plethora of those kind of horses and is very good at training those kind of horses, I think it's a mixture of that as well as other trainers and other owners not really targeting those kind of horses. You know, breeders these days aren't wanting to breed a Derby type horse or an Oaks type horse because it is deemed to be less commercial. They're going to fetch less at the sales. Owners are wanting a quicker return on their investment. They don't want to have to wait for a 1.5 mile horse as a 3-year-old and perhaps beyond. So I feel like Aidan's domination is just getting stronger because of the weakness in everyone else's.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also that team, Team Coolmore, are just obsessed with the Derby. They're sort of deep-rooted obsessed with it, aren't they? With the sort of setting the breed standard, with that being the race. And so they're actually keeping the Derby very much in fashion.
Which is a good thing.
If you took, absolutely. Because if you took them out, like you say, the Derby would actually become super unfashionable. I mean, that's kind of one of the talking points for the show. I feel like the Derby in general and the meeting as a whole has kind of fallen out of favour and fashion a little bit.
Yet, I think this year's race is really exciting. And whilst you say Aidan has dominated the trials and all of that, yes, but when you got to the best trial of them all, the Dante, he didn't win. He had the Lion and Winter returning after a really long break. We hadn't seen him since winning the Acomb as a 2-year-old. Remember, he missed targets at the end of his 2-year-old career, missed the Guineas, and so it was a big return. He went off favourite in the Dante. And essentially, he disappointed. So he got really sweaty and worked up beforehand. He pulled his head off in the first furlong or two, eventually settled. And yeah, he ran okay. And all the talk is, well, he'll be much less fresh next time. He'll come on a lot for the race. But it's amazing, isn't it? Had that horse been trained by anyone else, would it be now favourite for the Derby? No.
No, it wouldn't be. But let's look at his track record, even in recent times. So City of Troy last year runs an absolute stinker in the 2000 Guineas, comes back and wins the Derby. Auguste Rodin basically did it his whole life in terms of would run a bad race and then come back and win a great race and then run a terrible race again. He seems to be able to bring him back from the brink loads. And then even in the last few weeks with the filly, Late Victoria, she completely bombed out in the 1000 Guineas. Well, no, sorry, that's unfair. I'm being unfair. She didn't bomb out. She just had a return run that was pretty average on what she'd done last year.
Yeah.
And then she came back and dotted up in the Irish.
Okay, so will you be backing the Lion and Winter for the Derby?
Yeah, I think I will.
Really?
I know, well, because it's one of those things that hindsight's going to be a wonderful thing here. I could sit here now and be like, no, can't back him. Blew his head at York, ran too freely, no. And then he'll bolt up in the Derby and be like, God damn it, Aidan did it to me again. Do you know what I mean? Like he's got
It is a bit of that, isn't it?
So which way do you go? I don't know.
The only thing I would say is that physically, he didn't shout Derby horse to me.
What did he shout?
More mile and a quarter type horse.
Well,
weirdly, because he's quite nuggety. Like he's quite short coupled, he's quite muscly.
Upset him once again.
Funny enough, he wasn't around for many trials this year. So yeah, quite muscular, quite thick set.
Yeah.
And for me, if you've got a Derby horse, the idea of them getting really sweaty down at the start. Think of the whole pressure cooker atmosphere of the Derby.
Yeah, we talk
and the way you've got to go a mile and a half down to the start.
I want to talk about that sort of pressure cooker environment because anybody listening / watching, you know, if you've not been to the Derby, and I've only been to Epsom once before, it's something that gets touted around to us so much. Like they've got to take the atmosphere of Epsom, the atmosphere. It's less spoken about for Royal Ascot, even though Royal Ascot's that real cauldron and, you know, is very atmospheric in itself. But it's something that people seem to hammer home for Epsom. Is it that much?
Well, there's
of a factor?
that. So there's the whole kind of build-up, which, yes, is not that different to Ascot.
Yeah.
The big difference, especially when it comes to the Derby and the Oaks, is that they've got to come out, go down in front of the grandstand and get to the start, which is a mile and a half away. So in the old days, they could cut around the back route.
Right.
And obviously think Ascot, if you've got a mile and a half race, you're not having to canter a mile and a half down to the start because it's a round track, whereas Epsom isn't. So you've got to get all the way down to the start and you'll see them hack for a bit, pull up, walk down for a bit and then kind of trot on. So there's that whole time that they've got to kind of build up the nervous energy. So that's a really crucial time for when you tell if they're handling it or not.
Can we just reverse back to that time when they let off some fireworks just before the Derby? That was where like racing has such a tendency just to do great things and then every so often just like pull the cord and sort of imploding its own thing.
I mean,
when was that a couple of years back?
Yeah, in terms of the faux I don't think I did that one because I think I had just
So
had a baby.
I can't really, I should have done my research. This was a couple of years back, and I can't remember what it was in celebration of, but basically the horse had literally just left the paddock. I mean, you already talk about the atmosphere of Epsom, and then somebody at Epsom thought, I know what I'll do. We've got a load of 3-year-old colts going down to the start. Fuck it, up the fireworks go.
Did they all freak out?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Well, I don't really want to bash Epsom, but did you see the barrier draw last year?
Oh, it was so embarrassing. I said at the start, and I'm half a gin and tonic in now, so the truth's coming out. But no.
You've got to Google it if you haven't seen it.
Also, can we just note again for anyone who's not watching, I'm like lugging on through this nice gin and tonic, and Jessica's drunk about 1 centimetre of hers, and I'm about 4 inches in.
And also, actually, on that note, stay tuned for episode 2 because we are tasting some cocktails, not any old cocktail, but signature cocktails, like based on our personalities.
Here at Edinburgh Gin, yeah.
Can we get back to other potential storylines in the Derby?
Tell me.
You're backing the line in winter, you're fully in Camp Aiden. I'm going to go for a few more stories with a bit of romanticism involved. Maybe not romanticism, but a bit more the underdog.
Yeah.
So the Dante winner, Pride of Aris, I think he has a massive chance. So he won the Dante on only his second start.
Yeah.
He won it fair and square. He won it impressively. He had to come through a very narrow gap to do it. He's clearly a horse that's progressing very quickly. He's bred for the job, and he is owned by people that don't own a country or have massive,
or rule a country, or
have
run a mob,
or anything like that. So he's owned by essentially fairly normal people who have a handful of mares, the Aykroyds. Vimy Aykroyd is her name, who owns him, and her, along with her husband David, have been breeding horses forever. Very steeped in racing. Her father was a trainer. I think her grandfather as well was a trainer. I'm going to see her on Monday to do some filming for ITV. And the lifelong ambition was to breed a horse that could run in the Oaks or the Derby. And here they are with Pride of Aris on only what will be his 3rd start. And she is so excited about it. She's like, when I spoke to her the other day, she was like, I haven't come off cloud 9. I'm still really like on another level excited about this horse and about the Derby.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it? Is that I know I sort of like slightly tongue-in-cheek about Aiden winning all the trials and it being relatively boring, etc., etc. But it's when you hear that sort of story and get that sort of passion that, you know, I'm not like, of course, Aiden and Team Coolmore, you can clearly see it's the highlight of their year if and when they win a Derby, obviously. But when a team have already done it before and have 100 runners in it, and you know they've done it, they've ticked the box. I'm not saying that it means any less to them. But, you know, for somebody like her to have a runner in the Derby, for it to be your life ambition, and you breed a horse to run in a Derby, I just think it's so cool.
And I do think for flat racing, it's so important to have connections that people can engage with, because so many of our horses are owned by people who might not even be there. And even if they are there, and if they do win, you don't get big emotive scenes in the winners' enclosure, do you? You don't get interviews in which they're kind of crying and, you know, expressing all this enjoyment. So I think it's so important that we do have those kind of people and we tell those stories. The other horse I think is fascinating, and I think will run in the Derby, is a horse called Al Wasl Storm. So we were watching Chester.
Yeah, Chester.
He didn't win one of the trials. He won a maiden.
Drifted like a barge beforehand as well. And
it was a big price.
10 to 1, I think, that day. And I only know that because I was on another podcast. He did actually drift like a barge beforehand. And I know that because somebody else I know tipped him up on his previous form to win. And was really surprised that he went off a double figure price, or nearly a double figure
9
price.
to 1, 10 to 1, something like that. Yeah. And I just love his story because he was picked up for $7,000 in a National Hunt foal sale.
Yeah. So again, for anybody who's thinking out there, you know, non-racing enthusiasts, because what we have learned from Series 1, by the way, is that we have a wide array of different sort of listeners, and some of you guys don't know loads about racing. And so just a moment of education. What does that mean when you say a National Hunt foal?
So essentially he was bred with the idea that he would become a National Hunt horse, so a hurdler or a chaser. And so he was put in a sale whereby the intention would be that he was probably bought as a store horse, then go jumping in the future.
So essentially he's bred to be a lot slower than he's ended up being.
Yes.
Fundamentally.
Yeah. And I mean $7,000.
£7,000. So again, to put that in some context, the horses that are running in the Derby against him will have cost,
or not have been viable.
£250,000 up sort of pedigree pages, really.
Yeah, and how many will have gone through a sale? That's the thing, because so many are homebred by the big organisations.
And Al Wasl Storm is owned by the Green Team, who have this real ambition to win the Derby and have gone close a couple of times with big priced horses.
Exactly.
Balding trained a couple for them that finished second or third, went to Australia, didn't they, in the end? Yeah.
And
so they've hit the crossbar.
Yeah, it's very much so, and with similarly cheap horses. I mean, look, he's won a maiden. He's probably going to be a massive price, but I just love the have a go attitude, and why not? Because a lot can change. These 3-year-olds are changing all the time and developing, and like we said, they've got to handle the conditions on the day.
So those are some of the stories. I'm going very unoriginal with the Lion in Winter. For Aidan to work his magic.
I mean, we haven't even mentioned Ruling Court.
Oh, I know.
The Guinea, sorry.
Yeah.
And then Desert Flower and the Oaks the day before. So they're the 2 Godolphin Guineas winners, and both going for.
And of course, Godolphin had the UK Guineas double. Yeah. Won the Kentucky Derby on the same weekend.
And the Kentucky Oaks.
So the Derby Oaks double over in Kentucky.
Yeah.
And they could have a Derby Oaks double.
Yeah. Very much so.
Which is insane. Never mind the horsey chat. Are you looking forward to broadcasting there? Is it a day that you enjoy, or is it a bit is it a lot?
No, 2 days. Oaks obviously in Coronation on the Friday, Derby on the Saturday. I really enjoy it. I actually love Epsom. I know there are a lot of people that wouldn't have it at the top of their
Epsom swing, I must say. God, I hope nobody from Epsom wanted to sponsor.
I do love Epsom because it's kind of perched up on a hill on the edge of London, and you get there and it's often good weather, hopefully. It's early June. It's kind of the first, well, maybe the second big moment, and it's when these 3-year-olds are really putting their reputations on the line. So you've had all the trials, you've got all the form lines coming together, and it's like, right, who is the best? Who's going to win the Oaks? Who's going to win the Derby? And I love it from a viewing perspective because you're kind of perched up on the hill. You can see the whole of the downs there. And it is just the most bonkers race course. Like if anyone said to you, right, we're going to run the best race in the world, find a spot to run it. Like Epsom was like the last place.
It's like a roller coaster. And if you walk it, and when you stand on the track, or if you walk down the track, the camber of it. Yeah. For anybody who rides horses, knows horses in any discipline, you wouldn't have an event course on the Epsom track. It'd be too undulating. And for 3-year-olds to be that balanced, to gallop that fast down into Tattenham Corner, spin round the corner, and then run straight and true up to the line on that camber, not roll in, not roll out.
Yeah. And factor in the climb, the first half of the race.
Yeah, which I actually haven't ever been down to the start, so I've not walked it properly. I've only sort of gone down to Tattenham Corner.
I've ridden in the Ladies' Derby there.
Of course you have. Did you win?
No.
Oh, came third. One of the many female amateur races Francesca did not win.
No, I'd ridden it once. I really enjoyed the experience. I actually also love riding there on Breakfast with the Stars Day, which is a kind of gallops morning they have about 10 days out from the race. And we had a horse running in it, and I rode the lead horse. So we went down to the start, turned around and came back. So it's an amazing experience to ride there. But I do like it as a day out. From a work perspective, being in the paddock there with these kind of horses is a massive honour.
Were you there? You mentioned about the weather normally being good, but the classic, a famous non-good weather day was when Enable was running in the Oaks and the storm happened, and didn't the French horse get a gallop on down to the start?
No, I think it was the American horse ridden by Olivier Pellier, and he had to bail out.
And it was so dramatic. It was like a crack of lightning. And,
horse was bolting. He had the stalls fast approaching, and he just literally had to decide to.
Yeah, because basically the stalls.
Have you ever done that?
Bailed out?
Yeah.
I ride a cob. Of course I haven't bailed out of my cob. Bridie never gets out of like 10 miles an hour. So no, I haven't bailed out of Bridie. That would be a lot.
I think it would take a lot to bail out.
I'm soon to learn to ride out. Have I told you this plan?
Yes, I know. Wait, what? No, to ride out?
Yeah.
Ride racehorses?
Yeah.
I know. When?
So I've signed up to a trainer.
Right.
And he's teaching me how to ride out. I haven't started yet, but I start in July.
Okay.
And he's going to teach me, they're national hunt trainer. And because basically, it's Stuart Edmonds.
Okay.
Just a local, smallish trainer near me. Good trainer though, got, really nice yard. And basically what's happened is,
Patient,
this is
hopefully.
like, yeah, very patient, very, very patient. And he's got some big horses as well, so
yes.
No, but basically I don't know, I've got loads of training sort of friends or connections in yards and stuff, and people say to me all the time, come and ride out, come, because they see that I can ride and I hunt and stuff. And so people say, come and ride out, and I never do because I'm too scared. And loads of people, like Rebecca Menzies, a good friend of mine, she's always like, come and ride out, you'll be fine. And I say, but I don't even know how to tack up a racehorse and how to get on and all of this. And she's like, don't be ridiculous, like you'll be absolutely fine.
But I like it because you're having like a kind of reverse bottle experience. So most people, as they get older, they start young and really brave, and then they gradually lose their bottle and don't want to try new things and push their boundaries. But you're actually getting braver. You are with your team chasing.
Or also, you know, just closer to death. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just constantly aware that every year that goes by, I'm getting closer and closer to being 6 feet under. And I don't want to get to 6 feet under territory.
So you're going to increase the risk by riding out and...
Yeah, I think maybe, yeah. Right. Anyway, Stuart has very kindly said that he's going to teach me how to do it properly so that I don't just get shoved on something and hold on, basically. Yeah. And so, so I'm going to be doing that. Why did I start banging on about that? What were we talking about? Oh, bailing out. So no, I might be bailing out on Stuart Edmonds gallops once we get out of like 15 miles an hour.
I got taken off with, as a kid, on the same horse. We were on over by the Rolling Mile. So they have these gallops that go down, not on the main gallops bit, but like on the other side, not explaining that very well. Anyway, I was about 12. I was on one of my dad's racehorses and was meant to be in a group of 3, sat at the back. This filly just decided she was having none of it. Overtook the whole group, overtook the group in front, kept going, practically ended up on the A14.
So proper bolt.
Proper bolt. Stayed on, turned around, managed to get back to the team, and then they were turning and cantering back. And the assistant trainer was like, okay, we'll just kind of tag on and canter back. Ended up bolting again, and I ended up in someone's yard on the Hamilton Road. It was horrendous. It was horrendous. Meanwhile, my dad was like watching gallops on the other side of the hill and came back, and I think, out of concern, gave me the most almighty bollocking. Oh, I know. I was like, we're at a wobbly lip moment. And then I remember not being able to straighten my arms for about 3 days because they were so sore here, and I'd been like holding on.
You were literally holding on for dear life. That's actually what holding on for dear life is.
Literally.
No, you see, those sort of stories make me not want to know right now.
I shouldn't have told you
talking
that.
about your dad, and on the basis that we're talking about the Derby, favourite Derby moments?
Well, he won the Derby twice, so in 88 and 98. I was pretty young the first time. I think I was about 5.
Surely not even born in 88.
Oh, well, I'm afraid so, yes. You weren't born. But it's funny though, because I think my brother and I have been interviewed for different things. They say, oh, tell us about your Derby memories. And he says, well, we're in the kitchen watching it. And I go, we're in the playroom watching it. So clearly neither of us had any recollection. He probably does because he was older. And I just remember it being really exciting. You know, I wasn't really sure why I was that excited, but we were young watching it from home, and I think clearly the people around us were exciting. That was Kayazi for the Aga Khan. He was quite a big prize. He was like 2nd string, I think, maybe even 3rd string that day. And then 10 years later, it was with High Rise in the Sheikh Mohammed Obeid colours with Olivia Pellier on board. Again, 20-1 shot, had won the Lingfield Derby trial.
And were you there?
Did as well. No, I was playing a tennis match at school.
You're joking. See, you were not there. You're not present for both.
No.
Tell me, was it like a big thing for your dad? Well, I know, sorry, that's a stupid question. Of course, winning a Derby is huge for any trainer, but as in, do you remember that being, like the second one being like a huge event?
I do, but I think it's only with hindsight as you get older and you realise what a big deal it is, how hard it is to win, that then you go, oh right, wow, that was a massive deal.
And would Luca reflect on it as being one of his one of the great days? Or?
Yeah, I think so. And I think he quite liked that he went into both races kind of as a bit of an underdog. There wasn't like massive expectation. I think the following year we went, and there was a horse called Dahliapaw that ran in it who came 2nd. My brother and I did get out of school and go, and he came 2nd. He ran a great race. But yeah, I think reflecting, probably for him, his greatest triumphs were the horses he had that had real like globe-trotting campaigns. A horse like Falbrav, who ended up winning, I think, he's going to kill me for not knowing, I think 5 Group 1s across the year, having run in, I don't know, 8 or 10 around the world, all in the same season, and he was an absolute beast of a horse. And I think he felt a bit of a kind of pioneer of the travelling horses and picking up those big prize funds abroad.
That's cool. I actually love the Derby as a race. I love the stories in and around the Derby. I love people's, as we've already highlighted, lifetime ambition to win the Derby. And let's be honest, it's pretty much the only flat race that resonates still in a more worldwide and sort of public sporting sense, I think it's fair to say, flat race wise. You know, if you're a jockey or a trainer and you say you won the Derby, people are like, wow, cool. Whereas, you know, the other races less so, basically. And then, you know, even the stories further back, like I still would be like relatively obsessed with like the Shergar story.
Oh yes.
I just like,
what year was that?
Oh God, 80 something, yeah, I don't know. But he, you know, that whole story of him winning the Derby and then obviously latterly, and him winning it in the style he won it in, and just incredible. And then the story of his kidnapping and the sadness behind it and the mystery, you know, it's still an unknown, and all the sort of bizarre, the way in which it all unfolded latterly. It's just, to me, I could get stuck down those like Shergar YouTube rabbit holes, no problem. But yeah, it's a great race. It's a great race. Shall we do some listener questions?
I think we should.
Okay, let me just get the questions up. By the way, for anybody not watching, just in terms of like the gin and tonic update, I have basically finished mine, and Cheska was nowhere near close to finishing hers until just now.
Quickly, how do you make your gin and tonic at home? Obviously with Edinburgh Gin, but what kind of tonic? Are you a slimline? Are you a Schweppes?
I actually am. No, not Schweppes.
Oh, I love Schweppes.
Really?
Yeah, really? What do you Fever Tree? I bet you're a posh
I'm
Fever Tree.
I'm a Fever Tree gal.
Please don't say slimline as well.
Yeah.
Oh no. And then lemon, lime, orange twist.
I mean, an orange twist, if anybody could be bothered to do that for me at home, would be class.
Good, isn't it?
But no, I'm loads of ice.
Yeah.
Gin, then the tonic in. Nice good
Gin.
old stir. Gin.
Nice large measure.
Large measure of gin, and then a little bit of tonic on top, and then a little stir, and then a squeeze of either lime or lemon, depending on the gin, really.
Right. My final secret to the best gin and tonic.
Oh no, are you going to be one of these tossers that say, and then you rub the peel around the rim? Oh, Cheska!
No, you get your wedge of lime, squeeze it in. I'm a bit of a lime girl, like I like quite a lot. Squeeze it in, and then you run it around the rim.
Well,
so then every time you have a sip, you get that kind of nice limey.
You're obviously a real influencer, because your husband is also a real lime man.
Is he?
Yeah, I mean, on the basis that we all like had dinner somewhere last night and stayed somewhere, and he referenced limes and needing a lime twice.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
And this morning with his mango.
Yeah, one for his mango this morning and one for his gin and tonic last night.
Well, as you've already asked and you've learned, my husband does not get influenced by me. He is very much his own man.
That is true. I have witnessed that. Okay, we're going to do some questions. So this one's for you. Alice Ward has asked, juggling horses and kids, how? It's so hard in the winter. Love you both. Oh, thanks.
Oh, juggling horses and kids, so not dogs and kids.
No, it just says horses and kids. But we've actually had quite a few questions in regards to kind of just juggling life and, you know, like horses and just the lifestyle as much as anything. But yeah, this one's specific to horses and
we also had my mother-in-law messaging in saying Nina wants to know where her mummy is today. And also, can I just say, it's Teddy's 3-year birthday today. Teddy turns 3 today.
And you're with me.
I'm with you.
That's where your priorities lie.
He is in Tuscany with my mum and Harry, the 9-year-old, and I think he's forgotten all about us. I spoke to him this morning. We're like, Teddy, happy birthday! And he's like, nah, I'm in Tuscany
with Granny, having a
cake,
great time.
and I've got balloons, and I'm getting a tan, and I'm swimming every day.
So for Alice, that probably answers a little bit of her question. How do you manage horses and kids? You palm the kids off on someone else.
Exactly. It's half term. Spread them off in different directions, and then I'm very lucky. Because, Max and I both work, and we basically have a nanny. Well, actually, we have 2 different nannies who do different days because our children are a lot. So it's all about help, and then family and friends, and just trying to make it work.
I mean, to be fair, you obviously have a quieter winter.
Yeah.
So I presume you kind of prioritise family time then. Yeah. And I suppose in your mind that must outbalance missing birthdays and...
Exactly.
And
a lot of weekends, because obviously in the summer, the flat racing season, I'm away a lot of weekends. But then it balances out, you know, I might have a really hectic week where I'm away the whole week, and then the following week I might be around the whole week. So it all balances. And then with the horses, again, a bit of outsourcing, because we're not really set up for horses in the winter. So a friend of mine takes my big horse and looks after him for me in a kind of livery setup. Mm-hmm. Pony kind of has to tough it out in the field. He grows a big shaggy coat and gets
I witnessed the pony toughing it out in the field. There's not a blade of grass, just a little fatty. He's like climbing the gate for attention and food, basically. He really is toughing it out. Because also, we'll just mention her, but Sarah Golf got in contact saying, Francesca, do you hire a nanny or do family help out with your children? Well, hopefully that has answered that question. Russell the dog has asked, what's your favourite race of the year and why? Well, I think you can tell, Russell, by my discussion that it's not Derby Day.
What is it then?
Favourite race of the year and why? Well, favourite race day really is, flat-wise, would be the first day of Royal Ascot.
Oh, yeah.
I just don't think you
That's
can
a
beat
goodie.
that. The Tuesday, you're all so fresh, you come in there, so many hopes and dreams alive. You kick off with an older horse, Group 1, over the mile, which is just beautiful, you know, just a lovely starting point. And then that Tuesday rattles through top tier 2-year-old racing, big field handicaps. You got a top tier, a Group 1 sprint in there as well. I just love it. Love that
James's
day.
Palace, is that the day as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Kicking off with 4 Group 1s in a row?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty sensational.
So
and everyone's so fresh, aren't they?
Everyone's
the
fresh.
The course is
yeah.
fresh, everyone's dressed really fresh.
So I think
they're
that's
ready
probably
to kind of
my,
have fun.
yeah. What about you?
Was it favourite race or favourite race day or favourite,
It was, what's your favourite race of the year and why? I've actually answered race day, but...
After all that Epsom bashing, I'm going to go with the Derby.
I also love that you've had to think about these because me and Francesca have actually been in the car for approximately 4 hours together, and we were planning the shows and we were talking through the listener questions and we were filtering out the ones we wanted to ask, and then you throw her the question and she looks at you with this like blank stare.
I actually completely didn't see that one. I missed it. But, you know, one of our most avid followers, listeners, Emily, my friend, she's learning about racing, and she said to me the other day, she's like, I want to ask a really stupid question. What is a Group 1? Can you explain?
Okay, well that is just the top tier race. It's just the best race that you can run in. So there's Group 1, Group 2, Group 3, and then the 4th level down is listed, and then you're into handicaps after that. So Group 1 in any jurisdiction, Group or Grade 1, is just the top level of race in that category. So you can have a Group 1 sprint over 5 furlongs, or you can have a Group 1 over 1.5 miles, obviously.
And just to confirm on that, there's Group 1s and then there's 5 classics, which are also Group 1s, and you've got 1,000 guineas, 2,000 guineas, Oaks, Derby, and the St Leger.
And I suppose, even though they're still branded as Group 1s, I suppose if you were doing a sort of hierarchy, the classics would sit above a normal Group 1, right? Yeah. We're going to have to wrap up because time is up, basically.
And you finished your gin and tonic.
And I finished my Edinburgh gin and tonic, and it was absolutely delicious. And I glugged it as well. And I'm going to glug a few more before episode 2, so watch out.
Yeah, I know. And this tasting room, for anyone who is listening and not watching, is pretty cool because we have got so many different types here. We've got the classics, we've got the raspberry gin, the very famous rhubarb gin, which is what they're known for.
And I actually didn't realise that it was them that really set the trend. It was Edinburgh Gin, genuinely, that really set the trend with the rhubarb being in gin.
Have you tried the rhubarb gin?
Yeah, but I used to drink that way before anything to do...
With tonic?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. And then loads of other brands have also rolled with rhubarb gin and different variations of, but they're the originals.
Yeah, and a brilliant base for loads of different cocktails, which is what we're going to be tasting in episode 2. So make sure you join us and watch us get quietly sozzled.
Looking forward to it.
Well, thank you for joining us for episode 1 of series 2 of Running News. Thank you again to our sponsors, Edinburgh Gin. Thanks for having us here at the distillery. We've loved having a look around. We've loved our gin and tonic. And hopefully you've enjoyed our chat. We'll answer more of your questions in the next episode, but please stay tuned.